Jeff Slauson here from 19 News Now at the 19 News Digital Desk. I want to start this stream today by showing you the conditions on the roads there, and I know that's kind of difficult to see from that angle due to the sun, but that's the point here. The conditions in the summer can be difficult, can be strenuous. You can be driving right into that sun there. You can be driving around construction sites. You can have people in your back seat that are a little rambunctious, and this is the most dangerous for teenagers. We see about a 20 to 30% increase in teens that die in car crashes and car accidents between Memorial Day and Labor Day than any other time during the year. This is very dangerous, and we've seen an increase over the last few years. So we actually wanted to get to the bottom of this and figure out where we should go from here, because for many parents, they're not necessarily aware of the fact that we see these types of dangers. The attention is typically given to the winter months, right? You think about when there's snow on the ground, ice on the ground, it's be aware of those types of issues. However, people aren't necessarily aware of the fact that the increase is now. It's during the summer. It's during these really less strenuous months as far as the actual conditions, but the distractions are very much so there. The National Road Safety Foundation spoke with us earlier today about this and about the problems that we see in Ohio, particularly with seatbelt usage. Found this pretty interesting. Hope you do as well. David, if you don't mind, explain to those that are unfamiliar with what the time period is that we are entering for teens on the roads.
All righty. Well, Memorial Day is the start of what traffic safety people call the 100 deadliest days. That's because for teen drivers, there's a spike, more than a 20% spike in teen crash fatalities during the summer months over the year-round average. Year-round, on average, about 7 teens die on our roads every day. And that number goes up to about 8 or 9 every day. But when you multiply that by roughly 90 days or 100 days of summer, that's an extra 200 or so young people that are killed on our roads and highways, and that's just unacceptable. So what we're trying to do, the National Road Safety Foundations and our partners at SAD and FCCLA, is get the word out to young people, their families and their communities, and to talk about safe driving in hopes of making this the safest summer ever. That's our goal.
Is distracted driving one of the biggest culprits of this? I mean, what are some of those key things that teens are doing that's unfortunately leading to this increase?
Yeah, distraction, unfortunately, is a big one, and it's gotten bigger over the last many years with the popularity of cell phones. That is a terrible distraction. Looking down at your phone to look at a text for 3-4 seconds can be a disaster, because if you're at highway speeds in 3 or 4 seconds, you are going more than the length of a football field. So just imagine driving that distance blindfolded. It's crazy, and parents need to talk to their young people about the risk when it comes to distraction, especially texting and cell phone use. Another big distraction, though, is other young people in the car. You know, our teens are less experienced drivers. They don't have as much time on the road as us older folks, and so it doesn't take as much to distract them. So other young people joking around, fooling around in the car can be a real distraction, and you take your eyes off the road for just a few seconds, as I said, and it's just a recipe for disaster.
You mentioned how we've been seeing these numbers slowly increase. During the pandemic, we saw less people on the roads, obviously, and that year saw some numbers that kind of messed with the data that we have. The last few years, though, we have been seeing an increase. We have been seeing more of these fatalities and more of these accidents.
Yes. What happened, it's kind of strange, but during the pandemic, the roads were relatively empty, and those who were driving took that as a sign that, oh, there's nobody else on the road, I can go as fast as I want. And unfortunately, now that the roads are becoming busier again, many people are not slowing down. And speed is another major factor in crashes, all crashes, but especially for young people. You go too fast, and you could lose control of the car. You go too fast, and young people, especially with less experience, just don't realize how long it takes to stop a car. The faster you're going, the stopping distance multiplies exponentially. So first of all, it takes you a few seconds just to react when you see something ahead that where you need to stop. And then after those few seconds, once you hit the brakes, it can take a couple of 100 feet to stop the car, depending how fast you're going. And a lot of young people, actually a lot of drivers of all ages, don't really think about this, and they go too fast, they tailgate, and that's a big cause of crashes. I want to point out something else, and that is seat belts. The greatest lifesaver we have is something in the car that takes 1 second to buckle your seatbelt. But unfortunately, a lot of people still don't buckle up. And young men, young teen boys especially, are in that group that for some reason they think they don't need seatbelts. And a seatbelt can save a life. So parents really need to talk to their young people about all these things: drinking and driving, drugs and driving, speeding, distraction, and always make sure that you talk to your kids about always buckle up.
With the general census, or at least what people always think, is there's more distractions and there's more things to avoid in the winter, especially here in Ohio when you have things like snow and potholes and whatever. But what people are neglecting is that during the summer, that's when you have construction taking place, and that's when you have cones out and things like that. How aware are you hoping that people are, and does that further your point that you need to be even more aware here, keeping your phone down, keeping the people in the back seat calm, because there are people that are on the side of the road, not just a cone or something.
Yeah, exactly. And the key thing is drivers need to focus on the task at hand, and that is driving safely, looking to see what's ahead of you, what's around you, if it's traffic cones, if there are pedestrians on the side of the road or a bicyclist. These are all things that you as a driver need to be aware of, and if appropriate, need to respond to. And if you're looking down at your phone, or you're looking in the back seat talking to your friends, it's just such a danger, and a mistake will be made. So that's why parents need to speak to their young people about all of these things. Another thing that's on parents and on all of us adults who sometimes drive with young people in the car, it's on us to set a good example. Young people, they watch what we do long before they're thinking of getting their driver's license. And if they see mom or dad speeding or talking on the cell phone or blowing through a red light, they may know it's wrong, but they may figure, well, if mom or dad does it, I guess it's okay. So it's really on us as adults and as the parents to set a good behavior for safe driving.
Do you have any suggestions? Are there any things that you all offer that make it easier for parents to have these conversations with their kids? And obviously the parental accountability is important, but to be able to have these conversations, what suggestions do you have?
Okay, well, the National Road Safety Foundation has a really good resource for parents. It's called Passport to Safe Driving. It's on our website. You can download it free, and it has a number of traffic safety, safe driving issues, and tips for how to talk to your young person about these issues. So we talk about speeding, we talk about driving at night, we talk about driving in bad weather, in the rain. We talk about distraction and drinking and driving. So the Passport to Safe Driving is really a good tool the parents can use to have those talks with their young people and to try to keep them safe, not just during the summer months, but all year long.
You answered all my questions here. Is there anything else that we didn't touch on that we should have?
I think that's it. I looked up some statistics if you want them.
Yes, please.
I talked about seat belts, and nationwide, 11,813 people, fatalities. The people were unbelted. That's in 2021. In Ohio, the seatbelt usage in Ohio has been the lowest. Talking now last year, 2022, seatbelt usage in Ohio was the lowest it's been since 2005. In Ohio, then the nationwide average of seatbelt usage is about 90. It's in the low 90% area. Ohio, in 2021, it was at 84%. So you're below the national average. And last year it dropped. It dropped down to 80.8%. So, you Buckeyes have to start buckling up for your own safety.
And that's all ages?
That's all ages. Yeah, that's not. I don't have a breakdown for teens. That's all ages.
Then can I ask a follow-up related to that?
Sure.
Yeah, so you hear those numbers, you say those numbers. I mean, that's shocking to me. Should that be shocking to people to hear that we're at 84% to 80%? I mean, that we are dropping so consistently below the national average. Should that be shocking to people, and should that be a wake-up call to people?
Yeah, it should be a wake-up call, because the seatbelt is the best lifesaver you can think of. I mean, it's easy to put on, and it saves lives. I mean, there have been studies done, and it shows that seatbelts really can make a difference. If you're in a crash and you get ejected from the car, you've got less chance of surviving with that, or certainly you could have a serious injury. If you're belted, the chances are you're going to stay in the car, and you may get banged around, but you're going to stay in the car, and you've got that vehicle to, or that metal and steel to protect you. So it just is common sense to buckle up. And I think in Ohio, you've got to just. I think people just have to get the word out. People, anyone who's driving has to make sure that not only the driver is buckled up, but every passenger needs to be buckled up. You know, if you've got somebody in the back seat who's not belted and you have a crash, if they're not belted, they can go flying forward. And I heard some statistic that a person of, say, average weight, 150 pounds, with the force of a crash at, say, highway speed, it's like an elephant. It's like the weight of an elephant hitting the people in the front seat. So if somebody's unbuckled in the back and you're in a crash, you could end up hurting or killing somebody in that front seat, because you can go flying forward, and it's just terrible results.
So we have all this information available on our website right now at cleveland19.com. We're going to end this digital stream and immediately have our Today in 10 posting in just a little bit, where we break down the top 10 stories of the day, or the top stories of the day, in 10 minutes that you need to focus on for tonight. For now, I'm Jeff Sloss with 19 News. Have a great night. Much more to come on air and online. And of course, we will have our news starting at 10 o'clock on the CW.
19 News, now streaming on Samsung Smart TV. Search for channel 1035.